when we read things like we read this morning about the real world, I'm sure sometimes you wonder or ask, well, why don't I see the real world? And the Course does respond to that. It says you cannot see both worlds, meaning the real world and whichever one you see, the unreal world, the ordinary world. You can't see both worlds. And all you have to do to see the real world is to realize that the one you made is false. Most people don't want to realize that the world they made is false. There's some things in it they don't like, and there's some things in it they do like, and they're not open to your trying to change it. That, you know, if it's not real, who cares whether you change it, you see. But the reason you don't like people to come up to you and tell you how wrong you're seeing something, well, if you made it, you made it up in your mind. You know how you see it is something you do in your mind. You don't really usually appreciate being told by somebody else to change it. I had a little example of that this week, which is, I remember. I think I'd like to share with you. It has to do with a deck. We've got a deck attached to the house. Actually, the deck it's not quite as big as this room, half as big as this room perhaps. It is attached to the house, but actually it's only supposed to be attached to the house because it wasn't supported. Like if that's the house over there, that wall at the beginning of the house, if this is the deck, then instead of the deck touching the house over there, it had fallen, it had started, and being flat, it had fallen down about that far because there were not supports. When it was built, the needed supports weren't put into place. So the deck is sloping, and where it falls down from the house, it exposes the underlying wood that supports the house. Well, water gets all on that, and it rots. So I had some rot over there where I was supposed to have a beam supporting a house, and we all should decide that when we're in the living room there, don't jump up and down, you know, just walk carefully, okay. Well, we needed to have something done there, so we got a workman, and he brought a helper to come out to, I remember, Brian, I asked you about that, you know. Brian said he knew a worker that could deal with that, and but this worker, Mary found him on some list, like Craigslist, but something, not that, but
Angie's List?
Maybe, something like that, and we called him, and he came over. And so you talk to various people, you want to see what they will charge you for, and see what they want to do about it. They all want, here I've got this deck, they all want to build you a new deck. And it build you a new house if you'd let them. Oh, your deck is falling down, that's ruining your house. You need not only a deck, but a house. Okay. Now, actually, they didn't go that far, but they always wanted to build a new deck. And every time I talked to someone, the next one wanted more money to build the new deck than the first one. It just was a stair going up and up and up, and I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. The deck's not that important to me, you know. And so I went back to this very first guy who actually would, and I told him, I said, I know what I want. I don't want a new deck. Just fix the ones that's there. If it develops problems later, we'll deal with that later. He said, no problem, I can do that. So as a part of that process, there were some steps leading from the deck down into another area, and they were, I don't know, they were about from here to here across, almost that wide, and there were 3 steps, I think. And there was no handrail, and the steps were deteriorating. They were rotting also, so they need to be replaced. And I said, while you're at it, why don't you put in a handrail there? That would be good. Put it in the middle of it. And then for some reason or other, as the work progressed, I said to them, by the way, if you want, you could make the steps smaller. You know, it'd be all right. I mean, they were probably 8 or 10 foot long. I mean, they don't have to be that long as far as I'm concerned. I don't know why I said that. I think it was like, I just really don't, I have no idea. I just sort of flowed out, you know. So they made the steps this wide, right? I mean, not really. But they left, they did some work, and they had worked a little bit on the steps, and I walked out there, and I saw that, I realized, oh, they've made the steps, and the steps were from here to the wall, that wide. That's a big change from, say, that wide. About half as big. I said, well, I can live with that. And then of course, what came to my mind was my wife. She's not going to be able, I'm not sure. No, I didn't have that thought, let's be accurate. What I thought was, I wonder where Mary would like to have the handrail placed, now that the steps are shorter. That's actually what I thought. I said, well, maybe she might, instead of being in the middle, maybe on the side. It would make more sense to put it on the side, since the steps now are much shorter. So I went in and mentioned this to Mary, and Mary got this look of horror on her, washed across her face, and she said, no, I'm not happy with that. No. And I said, well, what, does it matter that much how, they're still wide enough for you to go up and down. She said, it doesn't look right. I've got a picture of it. It's my canvas. I don't have that kind of conception when I deal with outside stuff. Just put the nails in and nail it down, you know, or screws or whichever, you know. But Mary has an artistic view of outside. I do not have the grass grows, cut it. You know, there's no art there. It's just mow it down. You know. Anyway, I have no artistic input outside the house. Just, I don't want the grass this high. Mow it down. And bush, trim it. How much? Whatever. How much you want. You know. But anyway, she was saying, you got to tell you tell them that they have to put it back. I said, oh God. So I said, I didn't say, oh God, but I said, I'm not telling them that. You go tell them that. You want it back? You go tell them. I'm okay with it. Anyway, so
Wrong answer.
I thought it was the right answer. Wrong. Sandy's let me know a wrong answer. And so I wasn't upset, but it was definitely a different will here. One wanted to do something, and the other wanted to do something else. And then I left, went to another room. That was a good move. That was good.
Oh, you went to the doghouse.
We don't have a doghouse, but anyway.
You were in
It's
it.
kind of like a doghouse. So I just went and sat down in another room to do something else, and I just sort of relaxed myself. And the thought, there was a thought that just came into my mind, and it said, Bob, you don't really care, do you? I'm going to exaggerate, I'm going to add to it a little bit, so that I think I'll be more understandable. But it's kind of like a thought, and it was a thought that at first just had more like a feeling instead of words, but the feeling was like, you don't really care how wide the steps are, do you? I'm pretending I'm having a conversation with Jesus here, okay? Yeah, I don't care. Big, little, no, I don't care. And so if they did it again, you wouldn't care. No, I wouldn't care. Well, why don't you just go tell her that? Now this was, I said too many words there. What really I actually heard was just something that I would describe. That's just the background of it. What I actually heard was a small, still voice, different from other thoughts that said, you don't care. No, I don't. so I just went out and said, Mary, I don't care if you want it doesn't matter to me. You want it bigger, well, I'll make it bigger and walk back out. I knew that was the voice of the Holy Spirit. This is the first time probably in 35 years of doing the course. I usually tell whether the Holy Spirit is speaking to me by whether it makes me feel peaceful, which is a really good, I think I recommend it strongly. But I actually could tell that voice was a little different. It was a small, still voice, short, and didn't say much. It said, I don't even remember exactly what it said, but it was like, you don't care. Oh, I forgot, I don't care. How can you argue over something you don't care about? It's really not possible. You know.
The ego could.
Yes, the ego could. And so, like I said, I just went back there and said, yeah, we can make it, I can have it make it bigger, no problem. And walk back out. And the next day, when the workers came, I walked out there and I said, guys, I made a mistake here. It's not good just to have the steps this wide. And they looked at me and said, I'm making the steps this wide. I'm going to make them like we agreed to make them, which was 10 feet wide or whatever. But you've got to, well, that's just the first half of it. They had never intended. I mean, there was no issue to even be concerned about. And I said, and they said, we're going to make the step according to the quote that we gave you. We gave you a quote for I'm calling it 10 feet. 10 feet wide. I said, that's what you're going to get. Oh, okay, fine. And so, what was really interesting was hearing that voice. Now, I've got another story to tell you on top of that one. But that ties in with it. I've got, in a certain sense, I have some people doing a website for me, and I have an audio book I want to present to people. And in this, when I'm talking with these people and setting all this up, I'm leaving all the technical details to them. I don't know about web design. I don't know anything about it. And if they don't talk about some of that, to me, that doesn't mean it's not going to be done necessarily. Like a website, I assume it's going to be put on a computer someplace. You know, well, of course, you don't have to say that. I know it. That's going to be done. It's not going to be put on the radio. We don't have radios anymore. We have computers. So, anyway, there was something there that was not discussed. And what was not discussed was the delivery mechanism for these things on the website. If they're paper products, then you deliver them when someone wants it by taking it to the post office and the postal service deliver them. What if it's something electronic? What if it's what if it's just an electronic file you want to send somebody? Or what if it's an audio book? It's also electronic if you want to send somebody. We did not discuss that. And so what I realized, it finally dawned on me, they're not putting into the website an electronic delivery, or what they call it, digital delivery. They're not, digital delivery. They did not put any such system like that into the website. So if you want to send somebody an electronic file, you can't do that. If you want to send them an audiobook, there's no method. And so when I mentioned that to them, I said, we're going to need something. Well, they said, basically, well, that'd be another $1,000.
Really?
Well, now the guy, I had an electronic system in my previous website, and he did it for free. I mean, no extra cost. It was just not that big a deal to him. And so this another $1,000. Well, I don't happen to have. I don't think I have no $1,000 there for something that another guy did for 10 cents, let's say, to make up a number, no particular cost. And it made me say, well, not sure I want to do business with that lady. Okay, now where does the mind want to go with this? Oh, and by the way, and they're charging 5 times more than the other guy, by the way, too. But I knew that to begin with. I wanted to, okay, what can these people that charge more, what can they do for me? Surely more. Rather than less.
Yeah.
It hadn't occurred to me, well, it might be less.
That's
Hadn't
what
occurred to me. And so I just wasn't sure where to go there. I could say, well, the audio book has 16 MP3 files, and to send and to send things through Gmail, if it's more than 25 megabytes, that's too big for Gmail. Although there is an additional Gmail system called Gmail Drive that you can try to use, or you can try to use Drop. But there are more involved ways to do that, none of which appeal to me overly. At any rate, so what is the mind? Where does the mind want to go? Well, first of all, you don't really know for sure. You have to be able to deliver this audiobook. And I said I could just, and I hadn't. I'd only paid half my fee. By the way, it's half first, half at the end. So I was sitting on the other half to pay. I said, well, I could just not pay them. They're not done. It's not fully functional. So you send them a letter saying something like that, it's not fully functional, be happy to pay when it is, and then they write back, it's done and it's fully functional, please pay. We have different definitions of fully functional. And so, there are all kinds of possible approaches here. One can take whatever was sent out and rip it to pieces, this is incorrect, this is misleading. I mean, attack easily. You could go into an attack mode, verbal, by disagreeing with this, that, and the other, or whatever. Or you could say, I'm not paying you till. You could do that. All these kind of things you could do. Or you could just get mad and say, I'm done with all of you. I don't even need a website. Go away. There's all a huge range of possible things you could do. And so do I want to do this over the phone? Do I want to send a text message? I don't do texting. Do I want to send an email? Whatever. All these possibilities. Didn't know. And some of them are going to be are confrontive, which is not fun, and it's a little unclear how Holy Spirit could exactly be with you at that level. And so I simply, at some point, another still small voice came and simply said, call the other guy. There were 2 women and 1 guy that were involved. Call him. I called him.
Yeah.
So I called him and and he said, and we talked, and he said, you know what? Your delivery system could just be Amazon. Put it on Kindle and they'll deliver it for you. It just steps. If that's the problem, it just steps over it. And then he said, by the way, Bob, I don't get paid till you pay her. And I said, I didn't realize that. I'll pay her right now. Because I have sympathy for for people not being paid, like that. And I said, oh, well, I'll just pay her. He said, and then he said, can I come over and get the check for her? I'm going to see her tomorrow. He needs the money. Yeah. Well, it also doesn't occur to me. I'm sure it would occur to you, Pat, because you work with. I don't function that way, and it doesn't even occur to me. He needs the money. Well, of course. So he drove over to my house to get the check. We forget there's so many people that live from hand to mouth. We just forget that, And so I said, yeah, sure, here's the other half. And of course he'll take it and give it to her. But then he gets paid, see. And that just changed my view. So think about this. And of course now I got to figure out how to get it on Kindle, which is its own little challenge, but it'll happen. Yeah.
Can I ask a question about when you initiated working with these people? I mean, the intent was to share your books, right? The website?
Yeah, right.
So wouldn't that have been part of your contract with them? I want this website so I can share what I've read.
I think it's more like in our discussions, we did not discuss that, and therefore, it's not part of it. Something. The whole letter she sent was just a call for love. It was like, I need your money. Please give me some money. Shut up about the digital delivery. We didn't talk about that. I don't want to be concerned with it. Just give me my money so I can pay my bill. That's the essence of it. And that's why I said to Bob, it sounds like they just don't want to fool us anymore. He said, no, he said, they just want to pay us our money. That's really what the issue is. I said, fine. But that Sandy, what you were saying, there are many variations, spin-offs from that, by the way. That's where the man normally, first of all, wants to go. Now, what the Course said is you must let the Holy Spirit open the door for you. You don't go knocking down doors. You don't grab the door and shake it, or whatever. You must, if you want peace, if you want gentle lessons, if you want it to work right. It doesn't matter what they're thinking. It just doesn't matter. See, the problem is stepped over. Now, once it's stepped over, I don't have to go in and say you should have put this in there. Hey, it's stepped over. Not my problem anymore. Well, see, so that's what Spirit will do. It's just going to let you step over a problem. It's not any more my problem than the stairs that were half as long as they should have been, but actually weren't. See? And the other thing is that if I can get this on Kindle, it's Amazon's thing, it'll be so much better than any digital delivery thing that we could put in. Amazon will cover everything. And Amazon, you don't make as much money, but I've already told them it's not about the money. I don't expect to make money. I want to put a limit on losing money. That's all. I don't want to lose more than this amount, but.
Yeah, you don't want to pay to have somebody buy your book.
Right, yeah, right. Can I please give you money so that you will pay my book? And so they'll take it, and they hit their hand, and then there's the trash. And now they got the money. Yes, ma'am.
It seems it's sort of like what Stephen had on the board this morning. We insist upon things being one way,
Right.
and then when we see that there's a possibility for a different way, the mind really has to open up to ask for, to receive guidance or look for a different way.
The other thing is that when you do that before the mind opens up, let's say, when it doesn't when you don't find it, there's a temptation to lose your peace to some degree or other, to think there's a problem, when there isn't. You are the only problem. When I'm the only problem. If it's my problem, it's mine. Ergo, I'm the problem. God didn't put the problem there. But the difference was this was again felt like coming almost out of nowhere. It was a still small voice, and it didn't say very much. It's like I'm beginning to recognize it. It happened once, it happened another day. I've never heard it before. Now, it's really just a thought. It's very subtle. Very subtle. So you have to kind of pay attention. But particularly that second time it came and said, "Oh, that's that same kind of voice that said yesterday to tell Mary there's no problem. Hey, I don't care how wide the steps are." It's the same thing. Now, what makes that possible, I think, is your efforts prior to that time to make an energy beyond yourself make your decisions for you. All of them. You start with maybe 2, but then you, as soon as possible, go from 2 to 4 to all. And so you're used to, so it's sort of like hanging a sign on the door out there that says, Oasis door, it says welcome. You need to hang a little sign out to guidance that says welcome, and you have to, and the squirrels come and knock it down. That's the eagle squirrels. You got to go put it back about every 30 minutes or maybe every day, whatever is required. And then you pay attention, and you don't hold on to what your ideas are. You don't nail them in with a big. They have these big powered nail guns. You poof, 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 poof. Boy, those nails just pop in there. You don't do that. If you want a piece of glue, if you want to try to glue a border on that could be undone pretty easy. But yes, you want to say something.
I was just thinking while you were saying that, I think, and maybe you've already been saying this, but to me it just struck me that because you were willing to let it go and not hold on to what you thought it should be, you didn't dig down in the sand and go, well, I'm gonna have my position on these steps, and Mary can,
Oh,
she
no.
can figure it. Because you didn't do that, that's why the steps turned out to be not a problem anyways.
I guess.
But I think that if you had dug down and put your heels in and decided that you were
We're
right.
gonna have shorter
and
steps.
We're gonna have short steps, then you probably would have ended up having a totally different situation, but because you were open enough to let it go and not be your decision and you being right, then it turned out to be a non-issue anyway.
The course says, make now your last decision. And that last decision is, Holy Spirit, decide for me from here on out. There's no glory in this. It doesn't mean one person's any better than another person. It just means how easy is it to walk through this world, because this world is crazy. Yeah, it's just crazy. And you can fall through it onto your face or whatever. But the Course wants you to glide. Just glide through it. And it's your decisions that make the ride fun. We have some terrible difficulty with not signing for ourselves. It's some huge obstacle of some sort. I mean, we have trouble with it. Now, there's, I mentioned this book to some of you before. I want to mention it again briefly because it's relevant. There's a little book called Many Wonderful Things, in which a hypnotist regressed this lady back into past lives, and she would tell, okay, now my name is Bibi, I live in England, and I'm just a peasant girl, whatever. And various lives. Well, one time when he did that, he said, okay, go, what happened? Where, back up, and then and he'll say, well, where are you? Where are you now? She'd say, I don't know. What is your name? I don't have a name. And he discovered that she was in between lives. That's why she didn't have a name. What do I call you? Just call me I am I. Nobody here has a name. And so I said, oh, this is neat. Let's just start asking her a bunch of questions. This is a very simple, the mentality of this woman, at least in that state, was probably in her present life as well, it was very simple. There was no great complexity of thought here. It's just very simple. Like a peasant girl, but even this life she wasn't a peasant girl, of course. But no matter, you got the feeling there's nothing. She would express herself simply because that's the only way she knew how to express herself. And so she was asked. He asked her various questions, and she answered them. They all agree 100% with what the Course says. It's amazing, except it's said very, very simply. And here's how she said. Here's what she said. You have to do if you want to leave this kind of existence in one lifetime. That means this lifetime. She just spelled it out, and she emphasized it a whole bunch. She said, in other words, you can come back and do this again as many times as you want, but there's one thing you have to do to leave in this lifetime. And it's the same thing the Course says, in my opinion, but this said so simply. She said, in a business, let me elaborate a little bit. In a business world, people often have partners. You and your partner might go into business together and open a store or whatever. Now, if it's a partner, then you consult the partner about the next step. you know, as to what to do with it. Whether we shall add another room or not add another room to this building, or what we shall sell. Every time, you don't just go off by yourself and unilaterally, so let's just sell all this stock. Well, you gotta check with your partner, he may not agree with that. So you have to check with your partner on everything relative to that business. Your personal life, your business, but as far as the business is concerned, you check with him. She says, and what this lady said, you must make the Holy Spirit your partner. He's a partner in every decision that you make. You do 100% that, and you're out here. One lifetime. That's what she said. I think that's, I don't know whether, the Course doesn't say that because it doesn't talk about lifetimes. It doesn't have that, I don't think, anyway. But it's certainly consistent with it. It has the same teaching. It is clearly guiding you to have the Holy Spirit make all your decisions for you. And then it says there'll come a time when you will awaken from this dreamy thing that we do, and then you will see the real world. So it just says it in a different way. She just says it very simply, and it's up to you to decide. There's no force, you know. In the spiritual realm, evidently, there's no big Genghis Khan coming along making you do what the Creator would have you do, or the Holy Spirit would have you do. It's up to you. But don't think it can't be easy here just because you don't want to do it. What if you're looking in the wrong place, see, for the easy lessons? Well, you can fuss and complain they're not there. And like what Stephen had on the board, what if you're looking in the wrong place? The right place, right in quote place, is to look with the Holy Spirit. Or Jesus or God, it doesn't matter about the name. Just stop making your own decisions. That's it. And you have to do it consistently, of course. Oh, I'll do that Wednesday, but Thursday I'm going to go back to mine. No, that's not adequate. That's not good enough. It's not that it's wrong. It's just you're going to stay here, in some sense of the word, or come back in whichever way you want to think about it. But if you don't want to do that, if you think you can, let's call it graduate in this lifetime, there is a way. So if you're interested, at least start. At least begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Let's join in a circle. We'll have a closing thought.